Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey,
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Santa's podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Hello, you fine people.
Hi.
Hope everyone's doing just fantastic in this fantastic world of ours. I'm on a real 80s kick recently. I've been liking the 80s movies. I don't know. I just feel like they're a real departure and a world we don't live in now. And it's just like a real breath of nostalgic air to be watching these and have a good laugh, because, as I've been saying, the 80s world was so different.
So different.
So
A
different.
lot of inappropriate things happening in the 80s. Did we care? No.
No.
We were like,
no.
that's fine. Casual rape. Casual harassment. Whatever. It's the 80s. But hey, It was Sweetie's pick. She went back to, if you guys will believe it, the golden year of 1989. It's been a really long time since we found another movie that was released in 1989.
Yeah, to be truthful, I thought this was much earlier because it just feels very 80s, but not that 89 isn't 80s, but, that's kind of encroaching on 1990 territory, and it was a bit later. So, we did. She's out of control. Which I will say, if you know anything about this movie, it is totally mistitled. It should be called He's Out of Control.
Totally.
Or Dad's Out of Control, because it literally has nothing to do with the daughter. And the fact that they name, that they blame it on basically her behavior, which I think is pretty normal and fine.
Yeah.
For a girl in high school, fuck you. And that's mostly what I want to say about this movie. Fuck you. It's just, it's, everything really that we've tried to get away from. And I think are doing it a bit more, successfully now, but it's taken a good, 1999. So you're talking about 31. Wait, yeah.
Is this a math question? I don't know.
31 years ago?
Pass.
31 years ago? Is that right?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
1990 is 30. Yeah, okay. Oh my God, the math questions with these years are just so insane. So anyway, She's Out of Control from 1989. Starring Be Closer, Tony Danza. Which I will say, if you know anything about Tony Danza, doesn't necessarily have a big film presence. I mean, magically, we've already done a movie with Tony Danza, actually.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Angels in the Outfield.
Exactly. But other than that, I couldn't tell you a movie he was in.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I get him and the other guy mixed up. Ted Danson.
Oh, I was going to say...
Just their names, not their
I thought you were going to say Scott Bakula. Because he looks like...
Well, and him.
Scott Bakula, yeah.
Bacula or Bacula?
I thought you were going to notice that. Bakula. Scott Bakula.
You thought I wasn't going to notice that you said Scott Batula as in spatula?
or bachelor with an accent. Bachelor. He's a bachelor. Scott Bachelor. No.
Scott Bachelor number what?
Right. So Tony Danza, obviously known for Who's the Boss, which is basically the same role he plays in this movie, overprotective father. And then I think he was in Taxi and I think that was it. So, but Who's the Boss? Everyone knows him from Who's the Boss, right? Also starring Wallace Shawn, amazing character actor we still love today.
Yep. Yeah, nice to see him. Looks the same.
Looks the same.
A little bit of a different, more evil character. A little more the Princess Bride character than the Clueless teacher.
Which I think is,
if you will,
his character parts, lean towards that. Always like neurotic kind of guy, I feel like is sort of his role. But yeah, I agree. This one tends to be not very likable. The 15-year-old lead, she's actually 20 years old, but played a 15-year-old, was an actress named Amy, with an I, A-M-I, Dolans, who did a ton of 80s TV. So like every show in like the early 80s, like Mr. Belvedere and like Family Ties and like all that. So she did that like gamut of TV shows. And then if you remember, she's one of the popular group in Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah, I think that's where I know her from.
Yeah,
sure.
So one of those girls that I think that guy hooks up with, Ronald Miller.
Ronald?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, isn't she the one in the bathroom at the end that he's like making out with?
I don't think that's her though. I think that's I remember her having like brown hair, but anyway, not important. The girlfriend in this is the actress's name is Catherine Hicks, but you might know her. I know her as the mom from Child's Play.
And Seventh Heaven, right? Or no?
Oh, good one. Yeah, that sounds right.
You've seen Child's Play?
Yeah, I have seen Child's Play.
She's a mom in something.
She's a mom face.
Let me check that. Fact check real quick.
And then probably the best cameos, if you're a 90s kid, you've ever seen, Screech and Donkey Lips.
I just really couldn't believe what I was seeing because it was well before either one of them was ever on TV. So it was, maybe a little after. Screech was pretty soon after the original Saved by the Bell. But yeah, it was crazy. I was shocked, I tell you.
Yeah. I mean, they have like a 2-second part, but they have a couple lines. And it was awesome to see those like little baby actors. Oh, and let's not forget, also baby actor, Matthew Perry, a.k.a. Chandler Bing, as Creepskate.
Creepskate McGee.
Yeah.
What a penis face. I was just like, ew. He's just like, he didn't, something about his face just like immediately.
I know, you want to punch it.
Yeah.
You want to punch him.
So, it was tough. Yeah, but that was funny. And then, anyway, anyone else? I feel like we're missing someone. No, I guess not. Yeah. Well, the guy, there's the Joey guy is from Twin Peaks.
Yes. Yeah, I hadn't seen that, so he was familiar to me. Yeah.
But yeah.
Wait, was that the punk boyfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many strange places this story goes to.
It really does.
Cover all of them.
We will. So this movie, again, one that they played, I would say, in the mid-90s on TV, like all the time, to the point I'd see it and be like, oh yeah, I love this movie. And, it starts out innocently enough as a quote-unquote ugly girl gets a makeover and like suddenly is popular and guys are literally lining up at her doorstep to date her. I don't know why the 80s had to manufacture this myth of being hey, you lose your braces and glasses and hey, boyfriend's out the wazoo. That's not what fucking happens.
Did she put a spell? Shot a spell like Teen Witch?
There's such a thing as a personality, hello, but that doesn't matter for the 80s at all, clearly, because there's so many movies like this, whether it's, we covered Can't Buy Me Love, which kind of fits in that category. It was very Teen Witch-esque, where, I know she had a spell in some cases going on with that, but also she basically just washed her hair and got new clothes and everyone's oh my God, who are you? What?
Stopped wearing homeless man coats.
It's so crazy. So it starts innocently enough as that. If that was a whole movie, I'd honestly be fine. But this movie goes into dark territory, guys, because it ends up being a movie about daddy's little girl is upset that she's growing up and that she's gonna be dating boys. And the stopping block to that was that she was homely in the sense that she had glasses and braces. But once those goes away and she becomes hot, that he suddenly has to like watch out for her and suddenly be super protective for like no reason at all, because the girl is like pretty smart and knows what she's doing.
She's fine.
Yeah.
Is
also,
she
like, mind
out
your
of
own
control?
business.
No, she's not out of control. You dipshit.
So then
it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy, and it gives like a hall pass to fathers who are like, "This is how I should be." When no, that's not how you should be. And the daddy's little girl thing, and you getting replaced in your daughter's life is like not a thing. It's just so weird. Like, if it was like, I mean, I guess in some sense, if you're talking about like gender reversal and you're saying, would women do that to sons? And there is like a thing about that, right? Well, if you're talking about like crazy mother-in-laws,
they're like,
kind of a
you're
thing.
You're going to be a great... Well, they're like, can't wait to have them start families and making babies and shit. I don't know.
No, not. But there's like kind of weird mother-in-laws who are like, I'm, used to my son being the only woman in my son's life, and now he has someone else. But I feel like the daddy's little girl thing takes on a certain like sexual component that the women to sons doesn't. And this movie plays that up so much. Ew. It's disgusting.
Ew. Yeah, it's really Creepskate. This movie should be called Creepskate.
Yeah.
Creepskate.
Your dad's a Creepskate? Yeah. Sorry, he's Tony Danza, but your dad's a Creepskate.
Sorry, not sorry.
So we'll talk about it. It's like a lot to pick apart. So the big claim to fame to this movie was that it was on a list that Roger Ebert kept of movies, most hated movies
of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, hated movies.
Which, like, granted, if you look at that list, some of them you're like, really? Because he has some, like, pretty decent movies on that list, or that one that you sent me today. It wasn't, like, all horrible movies.
I don't know if that one was real. It was just, like, some of his worst reviewed movies or something.
Like, he hated Dead Poets Society. He hated Usual Suspects, which, like, okay, I could, like, kind of see that one.
He has questionable taste, but in this case, he was right.
Yeah, he was spot on.
Because there's a lot of problematic film here, right over here. But yeah, I think we should talk about it, though.
Yeah. I'm pumped because it's a really great plot. plot. Okay. And I'm just realizing I did not save a quote.
Of course. Obviously. It's the new normal.
It's time for the sweetie synopsis. Yeah.
Sweeties.
Okay, I won't say a quote, but I'm going to sing that song, which feels very 80s to me.
God.
That.
Oh, yeah. Which I feel like wasn't far enough removed yet from Ferris Bueller. Because when was Ferris Bueller? 86?
86, I think.
So only 3 years later, and another movie's already trying to use that same like iconic song for...
I know.
Seems weird. And they did that, I mean, in Flashdance too. When was Flashdance?
83, 82, 83.
I'm gonna call you Sweetie Dates. Sweetie Dates Club. What is it? I don't know.
It's my history major background.
Sweetie History, yeah. So anyways, okay. Doug Simpson. Guy who works at a radio station but is not a DJ. Is that correct?
Does he just, like, manage it? Because the whole movie, they're just
That's
like...
That's my question. Yeah.
We're number 3 in the stats. Yeah. We're number 6 in the
and you're like,
stats.
Is he the disc jockey? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think he's just behind the scenes or whatever.
And does, like, programming and stuff, yeah.
So we open the movie with this like unseen character who's like coming through the halls of a radio studio, busts down the door on like 2 guys and then goes to like beat up one of them, and then like flies out the window and it falls down like 10 stories, lands on an awning, and don't worry guys, he just sprained his neck or something. So he's in a
also
neck brace.
Worst stunt double ever. I was like,
it's pretty funny.
That is so much not Tony Danza. I don't know what to tell you.
It's just so weird because they're like trying to be like, oh look, interesting story, way to tell a story. Start with
backwards.
This big crazy thing, and then so he's like, yeah, that's me. Like this is what happened. I don't know, right before this happened or whatever.
Why are the cops involved though? Because he tried to beat up the
I guess. Why
psychiatrist.
Is the psychiatrist in a neck brace too? He hurt himself from the 2 seconds that And maybe he put his hands on him. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyways, so Doug Smith has a problem. He's got two. Wait, is he a widower or is he divorced?
Widower.
Okay.
His wife
Because
died.
I read Ebert's review and he said divorcee.
No.
And yeah, he fucked up. But anyways, yeah, his wife passed away. He's raising his two daughters, Katie, who's 15, and Bonnie, who is like 13, 12.
I'm going to say 12.
Yeah. And he's excited because it's his daughter Katie's birthday. She's turning 15. He's got her the best present you could ever get your 15-year-old daughter, which is a giant teddy bear, and brings it to her. And he's all excited. And she's like, thanks, Dad. And guys, she is like a hardcore nerd. Such a nerd. She has Coke bottle glasses, literally the thickest glasses I've ever seen in my life. Do they actually make glasses like that? I don't know. It was just like comical how big they made them. Braces that give her like a speech impediment, basically.
Right.
And she's weird. Like she's dancing to the Flashdance song and then hyperventilating. Like I know that's like she's getting her heart rate up, but it seemed like she was really losing it.
Yeah.
Like she needed a glass of water sitting down. I don't know. It's just
She's
I was
trying to get
concerned.
hot. She's
I
trying to
was
get hot.
concerned. So she's supposed to go to Europe on a school trip, and she's like, Dad, like I don't really want to go to Europe. Like I forget why she doesn't want to go to Europe, but she tells him that, and he's like, I think you should. I think it'll be good for you. Little does he know, trouble is a brewing. So for some reason, for Katie's birthday, her wish is to go to this like weird nightclub.
Thank you.
With her dad
What's that?
and her 12-year-old sister.
And her boyfriend
And
from
her
elementary school.
weird boyfriend from elementary school.
Who she doesn't even like.
Whose name is Richard.
Yeah.
And it seems like an arranged relationship or something. I
You
don't
know
know.
what that nightclub looked like? The one in Earth Girls Are Easy. Like when they're dancing in the cages.
In the cages.
And
What's the song?
Oh, yeah. And I gotta shake that.
So good. I love it.
Now that's a
Wish
good
we
movie.
were watching that.
I
Yeah.
know.
Anyways, yeah. So they're like at this weird nightclub, and Doug's girlfriend comes, whose name is what's her name? Character's name?
I forget.
Oh shit. Well, the girlfriend, who I thought
Yeah.
was his like wife,
No.
second wife, but turns out they're just dating 3 years. So she comes
But-
and she's like,
Oh, I was gonna say, but before that, like they're the dad and Katie are dancing. Wait, his name's Doug.
yeah,
Doug,
wait,
yeah,
Doug Simpson, yeah.
yeah. Is dancing on the dance floor, and there's this like moment where she's like, Dad, like I don't feel pretty. Like you think I'm pretty, don't you, or something? And he's like, Of course I do. She's like, But you're just saying that because I'm your dad. Like, do you think I'm as pretty as that girl? And they like look at this girl who's like total like picture of the 80s. So she has like big curly hair and like a banana clip and like an all white outfit with these like white knee highs, like white
The whole movie was white.
yeah,
white.
so white. White high heels, and she's like dirty dancing with this guy. So already you're like, and then he gets like goo goo gaga eyes like for her. So already you're like, this is weird because, I mean, I don't know. I guess that might be something like your daughter would ask, like your dad.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't take my dad to the club. I don't understand why she wants to go to this weird nightclub. It doesn't
I
make
don't
any
either.
sense. I thought she was like secretly hot like for a year and that was going to be the big secret. But no, she's like, Dad, I have a secret. And he needs like 2 Mai Tais or Hawaiian punches or whatever, doubles to like take this news. And she's like, Dad, I don't want to go out with Richard anymore. As if like he has a say in like why she has to announce. This is why I'm like, is this an arranged relationship? It's just really weird.
Right.
And he's like trying to convince her like, no, like Richard's great. He's great. And I'm like, what? It was just really weird. So Richard's over there sad, whatever. So then Doug has to go on a business trip for, I don't know, how long was this business trip?
Yeah, did not clear. Not clear.
They do not specify, but it's an overnight because the girlfriend is coming to take care of them, basically. So they get in the car after they drop him off at the airport, and she's like, "Are you ready to do this? Are you sure you want to do this?" And she's like, "I've been waiting for this my whole life," or something, which is like not true because you didn't have braces your whole life, but like whatever. And they go to the orthodontist, and the guy's like, "Oh, Katie, your braces aren't like due to be taken off for another 3 months. Are you sure you want to do this?" And the girlfriend's like, yank them off or whatever. So they take the braces off. She takes her to a crazy salon where the hairdressers wear sunglasses and are styling in the dark, it seems. It's just like a really weird situation. Gets her hair, whatever, makeover, facial.
What did they even do to her hair? I'm not sure.
This is basically Earth Girls Are Easy. I think now that we're talking about it, I'm like, these are all the same scenes in Earth Girls Are Easy, but
they
not
put her
as
under
good.
the tanning lamps.
Yep. They did the facial. They show her like trying on clothes, high heels.
Yeah. Contact lenses.
Contact lenses, of course. They have to get rid of those Coke bottles. So we don't know what happens. We just like see little glimpses of like her eye or like her feet or whatever. And then Doug comes home from his business trip and he's like so excited to see his family. He walks in the door and the phone's like ringing off the hook. And so he's picking up the phone. It's like, "Oh, it's Katie there? Is Katie there? Is Katie there?" And it's a different guy every time. Meanwhile, Katie's on her phone in her room because she also has her own phone. And he's like, "What the hell is happening here?" And then he goes to the door. The door's bell's ringing. And it's like guy after guy is looking for Katie. And he's like, "What the hell is going on here?" So then Katie comes down the stairs. And she's wearing kind of actually similar to the outfit that woman was wearing at the nightclub. These like thigh-high white leggings that she is going to wear every single scene after this. Don't worry, in case you wanted to look at them again. And then like a white frilly mini skirt, which the girlfriend was like higher, like to the seamstress. Weird. What is going on?
I don't know.
So Doug's like in shock. His little girl, let's say, has turned into a what does he say? Softcore perfume ad?
Oh,
was that something?
Good description. Yeah.
Wait, who said that? Did he say
I don't
that?
know, but that's a good description.
Oh, that was from Ebert's review. I was like, who said that? It's very specific. And yeah, he's in shock. And he's pissed at his girlfriend for like doing this to his daughter. And she's like, "It's gonna happen anyways, Doug. Like, she's growing up, blah, blah, blah." Which, like, yeah, sure. I support it. I support a glow up. Why not?
Yeah. Right. Like, if you're uncomfortable, I mean, could she have waited 2 months more for braces? Maybe. But yeah,
well,
I support contact lenses for everyone because that will give anyone confidence, and you can see the exact same way. Why wouldn't you do contact lenses?
Do they make contact lenses for glasses that thick? I don't think so.
That's how bad my eyes are. Hello.
That thick? No.
Yes.
I've seen your glasses are not like that.
Because I get them shaved down. Like, I have very thick ones. If I had them, they stick out. I get them shaved down and they stick out past the frame. So that's how bad my eyes are. So yes, they do. But so if that gives you confidence, like, that's great. And that's where, like, it's like a real struggle for me in this movie. Because it's like, okay, like, if that gave her confidence and something that she felt was, like, missing from her life, like, yes. But I don't like that message where you're like, okay, now like every boy likes you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, which is what basically they're saying.
And
like,
it's not like, again, we don't know the time frame here. So to us, the viewers, it appears as though she gets a makeover, goes
over the
home,
weekend. Yeah.
doesn't see anybody. But then for some reason, the word gets out that Katie's hot now. And the guys like line up. There's no story building.
And they do this to be funny, but it's literally every walk of guy, like, everyone in the school, so geeks, punks, like nerds, cool guys, like literally everyone is identical twins. Like everyone is lining up to date her. I mean, I know it's like a comedy. It's supposed to be funny, but you're like, what?
Are they invited? Or like, is she like, did they call her up and were like, "Hey, want to go out?" And she was like, "Okay." Like, is she saying yes to everyone, or are people just showing up? These are the things I want to know. So anyways, Katie starts dating, rapidly, at an alarming alarming rate, let's say.
Like she has a little date book, and her 12-year-old sister is her
her 12-year-old
social secretary.
Sister is her secretary who keeps track of her dates in the date book. Is that what a date book is actually for?
Good one.
Dates.
Yeah, I guess so.
Good times. So her first like serious boyfriend, let's say, is Joey, who's this like punk guy who drives like a monster truck with lights, floodlights or whatever. Whatever those lights are called. Those what are those called? I don't know.
Yeah. Floodlights?
Maybe floodlights?
Yeah.
But he has like crazy hair and like a long dangly earring. And so it seems like she likes bad boys. So things are getting serious, with Joey. Doug finds out because doesn't he see that? Like, doesn't he see them in the car or something?
Yeah.
And then he calls home. I feel like, wait, did we miss something? Did we miss a plot line? We're already at like the engagement part?
No. So side plot line is that he starts going to a
Or he
therapist.
reads the book.
No,
and then finds that therapist.
Well, he goes to a therapist who is this Wallen Shawn. And he goes and starts, talking to him about all his anxiety around his daughter dating and how he's just like constantly like it first starts out that she is so booked up with dates that she can't find any time for her dad. So they are, he has to like basically like book a day with her, like to spend time with her. And he just is like really ruffled by that. And then there's a scene at the beach, which we should go into. It's pretty important. So they go to the beach because he's able to book like one day with her. And so she's like, how about Sunday? So she cancels her date on Sunday and goes to the beach with them. So like they show him like bringing hot dogs and hamburgers to the beach blanket. And he's like, where's Katie? And they're like, she's swimming. And so he goes down to the water and he sees her swimming. So at this point, they've done this clever thing where they have shown her basically pretty buttoned up. So as like a nerd, she wore like kind of baggy clothes. And then even when she transformed into like hot girl, her chest is still covered. And they do this for a reason because they're saving the big boob reveal for the beach. And you see her like frolicking the waves and you're still like her back is to the camera. So you don't like see anything. And finally he's like, Katie! And he like yells at her in the water and she's like frolicking with a boy and the boy runs away. And she comes running towards him with like the Baywatch bounce of all Baywatch bounces. She's in this like tiny little blue bikini or bathing suit. It's a one piece. But this girl, she's like a really tiny girl, very petite. She's very skinny, but she's like giant boobs. One of those bitches. Yeah. And is like bouncing like slow-mo. And it is just a weird scene because you're looking at it supposedly through like the eye of her dad.
Yeah, but it's like sexualized.
Yes.
And again, they're playing that "Oh Yeah" song, and it's like, ew. And you're like, is he attracted to her, or like, are we supposed to be attracted to her, or like, what is happening? Also, P.S. She's 15 years old.
She's 15. So then she's like, she's talking to him, and she's like, Dad, what's wrong? He's like, I thought this was our special day. Like, who's that guy? And she's like, oh, when like Tim like thought I canceled the date. He thought I was going out with somebody else, so he had to make sure I wasn't. Like, again, another controlling dude. But she's like bouncing up and down the whole time, so her boobs are like shaking like uncontrollably, like in your face, and you're like, oh my god.
She's like, cover up, and he just like yanks some stranger's beach blanket off from the sand and covers it around her, and then he starts like or I don't know if like he was imagining this or if it was real that like all the men on the beach are staring at her and like looking at her and lusting after her, and I'm like, listen, like she's cute, but she's not like this knockout like supermodel babe that people are obsessed with. It's very strange.
But also it's like positioning it like that's her fault again.
Yeah,
it's like
oh, she's wearing this skimpy
she's wearing a bathing suit and she has breasts, so like, oh my god, it's like so her fault instead of being like, wow, guys are gross. Like, and like, you're gonna do that, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's
not a skimpy. It was just a regular bathing suit. It was just like what her body looks like in a bathing suit.
Exactly. So that kind of sends him into a tailspin to go to this therapist to be like, okay, like I'm having this anxiety over my daughter dating and suddenly being hot, and like I can't be around to watch her and control her life the whole time. which again, like he didn't have to before because she wasn't hot, but suddenly she is, and it's like an issue. So he finds out that this therapist, the Wallace Shawn character, has written this book called Daddy's Little Girl, How to Raise a Teenage Daughter. So he takes it home and he's like using this now like as a Bible, essentially being like, okay, like how do I control this situation? So the like kind of first thing that he learns is that, you know, he needs to like befriend the boyfriends or whoever of the daughter, because you don't want to be that dad who's just like controlling and scary all the time, because then if the guys trust you, I guess they'll be like,
or
nicer?
she'll just like rebel
do what you
more
say.
or something.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay. So he's going to be friends now with the latest boyfriend, Joey. So, but isn't the first thing that he says, the psychiatrist, like you have to bring in like a woman or like the support? Is there a boyfriend before Joey? I feel like we're still missing something.
I think there's a boyfriend before Joey, but like, because he says the bring in the girl thing because of the sex talk. So whatever the sex talk happens, is that before Joey or after? When she's like, Dad, like, I have a question. Like, when do you know you want to do it? Yeah.
But she, like, barely, I'm like, is that the question she was trying to ask? Or was she like, oh, okay. Because she never says that anything. It's just like, he just assumes that and goes. But I don't know. So, but I think that, so then the psychiatrist, like, he needs a woman in his life or whatever, Doug. And he's like, well, I have one. And, like, the girls love her. Like, okay, we'll bring her in. Like, she should move into the house. He's like, oh, but she won't move in unless, like, we get married because she's, like, really old-fashioned or whatever. And so he's like, okay. So next scene, he, like, goes over to the girlfriend's house with an engagement ring and proposes, sort of. I mean, really, he just holds open the box.
Yeah,
I don't think
he never says, will you marry me? So he
she,
is
like,
expecting
freaks
an answer.
out. But he's only doing this because this is what the psychiatrist said. And so that it's like, it's so weird, right? Like, he's not even like paying attention to anything. Yeah. It's like really bizarre. And the poor girlfriend's like, oh, yay, I'm so excited. So she goes and takes a shower, and he calls home, and someone strange answers the phone, and he like flips out and then drives home, abandons his now fiance, who he just proposed to, makes up an excuse about there being problems at work, and then goes home to find my favorite thing, a makeout party, which is like so cool, and I don't think we're real.
I know.
But there's just like couples like slow dancing and making out, including his daughter and Joey, this big like punk guy. So everyone thinks he's gonna like freak out and that they'll all be in trouble, but he like pretends that he's cool with it. He's like, this is fine. He starts like talking about like rock music or whatever. And Joey's like really dubious. He's like, I don't get this, man. Like, guys, like, dads hate me. How can you be so nice? Doesn't make sense. So Doug's just like laying these layers on of like, you know, oh, I'm cool, dad. So then he's like, hey, want to drive my Jaguar? And then
first he goes, hey kids, like, well, okay, so my favorite scene for this whole movie when he's like he comes into the party and he's like there, and she's like, Dad, I just took out some of your old records to like show the people, and he's like, oh, okay, like I want to show them. So then he's like show and tell basically the records. He's like putting all these records on. The kids are like grooving, like on the floor, like yeah, like these
like the
old
70s,
tunes.
like the like 70s close music listening circle. Yeah. It's like and
these
let's
kids
all get together,
are like, yeah, like sitting down, and then he's like, hey, like kids, want to go to my favorite spot? And like they all like go and get like milkshakes at basically like an old like Happy Days drive-in kind of style thing. But then that's when he's like, Joey, like see that Jaguar out there? Like, want to drive it? He's like, whoa, man, like you are cool.
You're so cool. So they go, and then they're at the drive-in place, and these like nerds, these like fat nerds roll up next to them in like a nice car, and they're like, cool car, Joey. What happened to your truck? And it's like really unclear that these nerds or are these like bullies? I don't know. But Joey's like really defensive about it and like embarrassed or whatever. And then Doug's like, you know what? We'll race you, man. Anytime, any place. And Joey's like, really? And he's like, okay, meet me at the spot. So then they have this like drag race where like all the kids go and it's very exciting and
Basically
Doug's
turns into the movie
cheering
Grease.
them on. Yeah, and then it's Grease. And then Joey ends up winning, but then the car stalls out at the railroad tracks, of course. But they're still excited. And then a train comes, of course. But it's on the other track, so it like misses the car. So everybody's like, yay. And then a train coming the other way comes and then immediately hits the car and it explodes.
It explodes!
So it explodes, which to me, it
I don't think that's what
appeared
happens.
as if the car turned to dust, it seemed like to me. And then the next scene, the not even burnt shell, looks like just like a mangled shell, is on the lift thing at the garage, and they're like, "This will take a while to fix. You'll need a loaner."
Like, newsflash, you're not fixing that car.
Get a new car. Like, give it up. It was so weird. Just it's total, man. Give it up. So he's a loaner car now. But meanwhile, Katie's like, "Dad, I'm breaking up with Joey." And Doug's like really sad because he actually likes Joey now, even though he essentially got his car exploded or whatever. Yeah. And she's like, I'm sorry. Like, I just really love this power that like I suddenly have of being like really popular. And it's just like really great. And he's like, okay, but I don't know. He's still horrified, but I forget what he tells her at that point. I don't know, be smarter or something. Yeah. So next boyfriend is the Matthew Perry one. Mm-hmm. So now we've got, what's his name?
Oh, what is his name? Joey
Chester. No.
Tim?
Timothy?
Look it up.
Yeah, it might be a Timothy. And he's like very rich, very like smart, and
it's Timothy.
He's gonna go to Yale. Timothy, yeah, gonna go to Yale. He's a senior, so it's like, oh, look at this. But she's kind of like head over heels for him for some reason, and she's excited because she wants to go to his.
And I will say, she's like kind of interesting because she dated the Joey guy, and her look changed to like punky. She's wearing like ripped jeans. And like that kind of certain style, because Joey was kind of like a punk. He had like this kind of big floofy hair, and he wore these big Doc Marten boots and ripped jeans, like an earring, and had that weird car. But then with Timothy, she's back to like her white ensemble and like not like a lot of makeup, and her hair and like a banana clip and like really big like classic 80s country club. So she's really like whatever guy she's with, she kind of changes.
Chameleon.
Yeah.
So he's like kind of pumped because this Timothy seems like a real straight-laced fellow. He's like, don't worry, Mr. Simpson, like I'll have her back at 11 p.m. even though the curfew's like 12. And he's like, is this too good to be true? So then he tells the psychiatrist or whatever, and he's like, did you read chapter? Or no, not yet. He's like, he could be the wolf in sheep's clothing. So then he like tells Doug which like cameras to buy to spy on Timothy / the daughter, like an infrared one for nighttime and then like a long lens one for the daytime. So then he like stalks Timothy and takes pictures of him. Now wait, I was confused by this. Were those girls Katie or other girls?
No, they were other girls. So Timothy is a player.
I could like barely tell because
I know.
it was still like only from the camera angle lens, like not the actual what we were seeing. So I couldn't even tell who it was. So I just assumed it was Katie, and I was like, ew. But I guess there were other girls he was like making out with. A girl was like leaving his room.
Use it potentially as like a way to show Katie these and be like, oh, your boyfriend's like a skis, which he is, but
yeah, but whatever. So then Katie is like sneaks out one night and doesn't come home until like 4 a.m, and he's like all freaked out, and he's like, you're grounded forever. And then she's like, but Dad, it's Timothy's prom, like how could you do this to me, and then I have to go to Europe. And she's like so upset. So then she's like depressed and like listening to George Michael on like or Boy George, what song was it? It was a
George Michael song, right?
Yeah. And the girlfriend comes and is like, I'm so mad at you. I don't even know what this discussion was about. But and then what happened? And then she was just allowed to go to the prom?
Yeah, I don't know what happened because somehow like he gave in and lets her go to prom, but then he tells a psychiatrist and he's like, "Did you say prom?"
Yeah.
Don't you know? And he tells her all these like crazy statistics about like girls who
85% of girls lose their virginity at prom.
Like he has all these crazy statistics about like there's so many thousands of women between the ages of 15 and 19 years old. And, like, you know how many of them have already had sexual intercourse? Like, this is just, like, such a fascination with the dad. And I'm like, like, mind your own business. Get your girl birth control and, like, that's it.
Yeah, and shut up.
What a creeper.
So,
like, why are you so involved?
Yeah. So, meanwhile, his girlfriend's, like, parents are coming into town. So he's going to meet them for the first time, even though they've been dating for 3 years.
And they're engaged now.
And they're engaged. So they go to the same restaurant that the prom is at.
Wait. So go back. So then at one point, the girlfriend brings over his clothes, which he had been keeping at, and this is like in the thick of his own problems with his own daughter. And he's like, "Why are you returning all this stuff?" He's like, "Well, my parents are coming into town. And if my dad like sees like your stuff in my apartment, like he'll go ballistic." This woman has to be like at least like 45 years old. Like, are you serious? Like, what the hell is going on? Like, who fucking cares what your dad thinks? What is he going to do? Like, stop giving you money? Like, I'm pretty sure you're doing okay.
Like, she lives in, like, a penthouse. Like, she's a fashion designer or something. It's super weird. So, so they go to the restaurant. And Doug's very distracted, obviously, because it's the same restaurant that the high school prom is at.
Well, he planned it that way.
I know. That's why. I mean, like, he's being crazy. So, and then he goes through this like whole crazy, this is like the most elaborate ruse I've ever seen to find an excuse to leave the table for 5 minutes. He's like, "Oh, this was the only table in the restaurant next to the harpist," who I thought was his secretary. And I thought like he planted her there to play the harp really loud next to them. I was like, wow, it was so lucky she's a harpist. But it's not, it was a different person. So then the harp starts playing and it's like really loud. And Doug's like looking over the dad's shoulder the whole time at like all the kids milling around looking for Katie, trying to keep an eye on her. And I'm like, dude, she's not going to lose her virginity like at the table at prom eating dinner. Like it's the after prom.
Let her go to prom. Yeah.
So then he makes an this harp is so loud, I have to tell the manager. And then like gets up and leaves to go find Katie or whatever. So he goes to the dance hall where they're dancing. And Katie is in the midst of like an 80s dance sequence in a movie. It's just her and Timothy. Everyone else is in the circle.
Katie is Baby from Dirty Dancing. I mean, what?
Very okay.
Get those moves.
All right. And he's like, "Katie," and he like freaks out again or whatever. Right. And then he does like approach her right at this part at the dance.
No,
she's like,
because the like principals or whatever, the chaperones are like, "Sir, like this is a prom. Like we're calling the police. Like you creeper."
Yeah. So then he goes back to dinner, and then there's this like the dad thinks that he was like checking out the high school people, so he thinks he's bad news. So there's like that whole thing that doesn't ever really seem to get resolved. Does it? Do they get back together?
Who?
Doug and the girlfriend?
Yes. So we'll go at the end, but I'll cover that part.
So then Doug follows the kids to this motel that they all rented rooms at to have the after party at. And so he follows them there, and then there's like a restaurant next door, and he's like, "Food." And you're like, "What the fuck?" So Katie and Timothy go in a room, and Timothy's like, "Isn't it romantic?" And it's just like 1,000 purple balloons attached with strings to the ceiling. And you're like, "Wow, Timothy, it's like really romantic." Thank you.
There's like our whole senior class is outside.
Yeah, partying outside. I love it. So they start like kissing or whatever. And like, keep in mind, they're really, I don't know what they've been doing this whole time. I thought she was having sex like immediately, but apparently not. They were just making out for 5 hours every day. Like, what? So she's kind of like, "Oh, I don't really want to do this here. Like, I do kind of want my first time to be special. And like, it's not really special with like our whole class, like outside." He's like, "You're such a fucking bitch." And he like gets all crazy and then like won't let her leave. And it's like, "You're such a tease." And like basically is about to like rape her, let's say. And then Doug comes with a platter of fruit that he ordered at this restaurant somehow. And they have like fruit platter on the menu. But he's like knocking on the door. This is very Uncle Buck, you guys.
Yeah.
And he's like knocking on the door. And she's like, she recognizes her dad's voice because he hears Katie's whatever. He's like, Katie? And she's like, Dad? And she's like, I can't believe you followed me here. And then she like runs off crying. And then Doug gets in the car, like frazzled, and puts on the radio. And the psychiatrist is being interviewed on his radio station. And
so
he
they
finds
had made,
out.
Sorry, so they had made a deal because this whole other like plot C of this is that the radio station is like just dropping in the ratings. So they have this brilliant idea to bring in that psychiatrist who's been talking to him about these daddy's little girl problems, and have like a call-in kind of thing. So that's like the new segment that's going to like get the popularity of this radio station. So he's listening to the radio, and then he hears the psychiatrist say like, well, like blah, 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 here's some advice, but what do I know? Well, basically like, I don't have any kids. And he's like, what? Oh, yeah. He's like, you wrote this whole book, you're giving me this advice, and you don't even have a daughter. Like, so he doesn't have any firsthand experience because, you know, Doug is following all his advice and it's basically blown up his face, as it should, because, you know, as we've said multiple times, like, what are you doing? Like, get out of your kid's life. They're in high school. Like, you can't follow them around and make sure they're making the right decisions. And, like, Katie's, like, a smart girl, and she gets out of that situation, like, herself. She's very, like, aware, and, you know, it could have been, like Sweetie said, like, kind of a rapey situation, but she was, like, on top of that. Like, no, I want to go home, take me home. Like, yeah. So anyway, so he flips out, goes to the radio station, and basically tries to, like, strangle the psychiatrist.
Right. So now we're at the beginning of the first scene in the movie. Now we've arrived to where the timelines merge. He sprains his neck, and then we know kind of what happens next, but not. And then he is, because he was in the hospital getting interviewed by the police, he missed like saying goodbye because like she's supposed to go to Europe like the next day or something.
Yeah, I guess so.
And so like he misses it and then like rushes home, and then but she's at the airport, so he goes there and like finally like meets her when she's like on the walking up to on the plane. And she's like, Dad, and like runs in his arms, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what happened to like the disagreement that happened? Like, it's just like completely out the window. And she's like, Dad, I knew you were only there because you cared about me. And it's just like a 2-second thing of like, okay, what? Oh, it's really ridiculous.
And then it's that whole thing like, oh, I just was scared of losing you. Dad, you'll never lose me. I'll always be your little girl. It doesn't matter if there's penises in my vagina. I'll always be your little girl.
Sick, man. Sick. So then like all is well, and then what's the story with the girlfriend?
Oh, well, so then the girlfriend like comes to the hospital or the police station or whatever to like take him home, and then her parents are there, and she had told her parents the whole deal with like the daughter. So the dad comes up. The girlfriend's dad comes up to him because they ended that dinner being like, you can't marry this guy. Like, he's such a creep. Like, because he thought he was like creeping on like teenage girls because he was looking at the prom the whole time when they were having dinner. But he's like, oh, like whatever the girlfriend's name is, like told me that like you were having daughter problems. Like, hello, like I have a daughter too. Like I can relate. So they like bond on like, wow, it's so hard having daughters. And then even like the cops that interview him are like, wow, I'm glad I have sons. Daughters, man. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So then the movie ends where like another boy comes to the door, and he does look like significantly younger, but he's like, oh, sorry, like Katie's on a trip to Europe. And he's like, I'm not here for Katie. Like, I'm here for Bonnie, who's the 12-year-old or whatever. Yeah. So then Bonnie comes down the stairs in that fucking same white outfit, and they're playing that like little daddy's little girl Venus song or whatever that bullshit is. And then the look on his face is like, oh no, not again. Like, what? Oh, I mean, I think we take very much offense to this because we were a family of all girls. We had one male in our family, our dad. And, you know, he was not like this at all. you can have a healthy relationship with your daughters that is not, and I don't know if they try to set it up that he was like a widower, so that was part of it, that he was like this single parent, so maybe if there was a mom around, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it's like, come on, like, do not normalize this like creepy sexual, like, controlling behavior of like dads and their daughters. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And like,
it's the patriarchy like at its worst.
Yeah. And at one point, he even has like a mantra that's like, "I am in control. I am in control." Like creepskates.
Yeah, I'm the man of the house, and whatever I say goes, or something.
Like what the fuck? Not to mention this like poor girlfriend he's just stringing along for the heck of it. Like what the hell is
like,
that?
Loves him and falls like in line with all this bullshit.
Like, honey, get out, get out of
there.
It's so.
And the way she phrases it, she's like, Doug, like, you're a dope, but I love you. Like, oh, like, it's okay.
That's right. Like, the whole thing is just like, oh, I know you love me so much.
You're doing it because you love me.
Like, no, that is not that's the same thing that people say when they're getting abused. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's not the thing.
Really fucked up.
Yeah, it was weird. And yeah, the sexualization was just like too much for me. I hate the fact that like like they don't show you anything about her life. Like, what was it like for her to gain this popularity at school? Why doesn't she have any girlfriends? Like that part was really weird to me. I was like, they don't show her having any friends or like any social life outside of boys. And it just turns her into like such like not even a person. It's really weird. But yeah, the whole movie made me just feel really like gross.
And like meaning that she doesn't have any control of her own life. You know, that she like needs this kind of protection, or she like needs these rules or something, where, and the actress did not play it this way. So it's like not, you know, she didn't act like that. She, again, seemed like really aware of herself and what she was doing. And like she said, like she was just, didn't have this attention from boys ever. So she was just like really riding that wave. And even she says herself, like, I know this is just like a fate, like I'm going through, and I just need to kind of like take advantage of it right now, which is like a pretty like, you know, smart, aware thing for like a 15-year-old to say. And so she's only 15. So she's like a sophomore or maybe a freshman, right? Like a freshman in high school. There's like a lot of time left in this time for her.
Oh, but so don't worry, because at the end when she's on the plane, she sees Richard and is like, "Hi, Richard," like her old boyfriend from the beginning. And then it's like, oh, they're gonna get back together again, and like whatever. But whatever. Richard seems like a drip. Don't date him. Meet some hot like European guy. That's what I thought this movie was gonna be. She like turns 15 and then goes to Europe, and then she comes back from Europe and is all like glammed up and made up and whatever. Like I thought that was the plot.
Yeah.
So it was just like I just like the Europe trip. Why is that in there? Like, why
do
we need that? This weird Europe trip that we don't care about.
Yeah.
There's just so many questionable things in here that I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, totally. And I just feel like, I mean, I know this is again like a 30-plus-year-old movie here, but it's like, you know, like just give your daughters the tools to like navigate like their sexuality and like this whole thing. Like, yeah, give them birth control, give them like the education, but like they're going to have to like figure it out. Like you're not going to be able to protect them just like with any child, like their whole life. And then just the fact that it's around like a virginity thing is just such an eye roll. Like, okay. Like,
right, because it's like, oh yeah, you really cared about this when you were that age and dating girls and having sex with them. Like, you didn't care about those girls.
And men don't have to care about it at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, just like arm them with the tools to succeed with all that stuff. You're never going to get teenagers to like just fall in line and be like, and she still did. I mean, look at her like when she was placed in that situation of, okay, I could lose my virginity on this prom night. She didn't feel comfortable. She didn't want to do it. Like she made that decision herself, which every woman should get to do. And it's just like so gross when you're like, have this.
And I hated, and like he kept like in his like kind of like sex talk to her. He was like, your first time should be special and like blah blah blah. I'm like, don't tell her what her first time. Like the first time is not going to be special.
Right.
It's going to be awkward, and it's okay if it is. Like, don't like make it this like romantic thing about like, oh, it's going to be a wonderful, special, magical moment. You're like, actually, he's going to like jizz 2 seconds before the penis goes in the vagina.
Yeah,
and
he's
you're
not
even
going to know
really have sex.
what
You're
he's
gonna be
doing.
like, am I still a virgin? I don't know.
Exactly. It's going to be awful. And I wish that was talked about more. Like, I feel like now, like, I know, like, maybe Girls wasn't, like, that popular of a show, and it had its own, like, flack in some ways. But I'll say, like, the realistic sex scenes in that show were, like, really a breath of fresh air because, like, they do these sex scenes that are, like, all, you know, so glamorous and whatever. And you're like, once you actually do it, you know, your first time or whatever, you're like, wow, this is terrible.
Okay.
This is a horrible experience. Like, it's probably not going to be special for like, and I'm not saying like that should be something and you should all just think it's a throwaway no matter what, but like, know that it's like not a big deal. Like, it's okay to kind of be like,
if it's not special.
And as long as you feel safe and you're comfortable with it, like, that's okay. Like, it's been, and especially for women, which is like just toted as virginity is this like crazy thing that you need to like hold on to for some reason. Like, who the fuck cares? Get that thing, throw that thing away.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, it has reached to like, remember like the buzz around the rapper T.I.?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
going
Did we talk about
in,
this?
I don't think
Wait,
we did
did
on
we
the
talk about this on a
podcast.
recent episode?
Did we? But
Maybe, I
that
don't
he had communicated that he like goes into gynecological exams with his daughter and makes sure she's still a virgin by the gynecologist reporting back that she still has like her hymen intact. It was like the craziest freaking thing. I just couldn't believe it, and no one else could either. And then he had to walk back all this stuff, and then like the daughter. I mean, it was just like, dude, like you're a fucking sketchball.
Creep.
Such a weird thing. You know?
Yeah.
And this movie's 30 years old, so hopefully, like, you know, this sort of attitude has left us. But it really hasn't. You know, it's like we've talked about all this stuff. Like, all this stuff still really persists, clearly.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. But, hey, this is a comedy. We're supposed to be laughing.
It's not. I like the like description, or like the little summary or whatever. It was like a lighthearted, blah 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 something. I don't know, comedy, and you're like, yeah, right. Like, this is dumb. And like, I would love it if the makeover scene was more focused on her, but it's really not at all. Like I said, like we don't get to see her like enjoying like her exciting moment of like what she looks like the first time turning around. Like, oh, look at me, how beautiful, you know. Like, it's just all him. It's annoying.
And it's like, who is this movie for? Like, and it's like, I mean, I like enjoyed it, quote unquote, when I was like young, but I think I just like the 80s part of it. And like like I said, I always like was just a sucker for those like 80s prom scenes and like a makeover thing. And I think I just focused on that clearly as like a 10-year-old. I wasn't focused on like the like internal like misogyny of this film, but like I don't understand. Like, this is sort of like a teenage movie from the point of view of like this dad. It's not like dads are going to see this and being like, yeah, that's my life.
Who is this? Yeah. Who is this?
I don't
for?
know.
Like, I don't, it's strange. So I don't even know. Yeah. I mean, do you have other topics to say, or should we just,
the only thing I have left is my That's So 80s segment.
what do you, okay. I saw a couple things. I didn't write them down, but I think I remember them. Okay. It's one thing.
Okay.
The giant watch clock.
Yes, I have that. That's on my list. Pretty cool. I remember those. That was pretty cool. I mean, we've talked about like Swatch watches that you wear, but there were these like room decorations that were basically, and I'm sure I've seen them in other movies or TV shows, but
Lost Boys. There's one in Lost Boys too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll say Flashdance, the movie Flashdance.
Flashdance, of course.
Huge.
Yeah.
Leg warmers, which goes along with that. Mm-hmm. Huge. The white outfit. So we did, just one of the guys last week where the Terry character had like that whole white outfit. And again, like The white outfit, man.
White.
I don't know if in this
Virginity.
one it was like a virginity, yeah. Like purity. Oh, look at her, like little angel kind of a thing. So gross. She wore a lot of banana clips. She had kind of like frizzy, half permed like hair that was always like in a banana clip, kind of like in that mohawk style, you know, of like the 80s. Controlling dads, I said. That's so 80s. As like a plot point, you know. Oh yeah, the song. Oh yeah. Boom, boom. That's by the group.
You saw a dance performance once to that song, right?
Oh my God. I went to Syracuse University. My friend went there, and my friend Haley and I went to there for like February vacation, and we like stayed with her cousin went there too, so we like stayed with him and then my other friend, and then my friend took us to like the dance. They had a dance program there and took us to like the concert, and that was a piece done to that music. It was crazy,
like a
modern dance. Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah, it was crazy. That is sung by the group Yellow, Yello. Cool. Yellow.
Is there another way to spell yellow?
No, Yello, no W. Yellow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I heard a W. I'm sorry.
No.
I just expected a W.
No.
What about radio stations?
Radio
that's like
stations?
80s, 90s.
Yeah, that's
But
pretty good.
it brought me back, and we've talked about this before, but like recording songs off the radio, just like how Sweetie and I wanted to be DJs. I mean, you've heard the song. Radio was a fun time. It was a fun time.
It was.
You just didn't have you didn't have control over what would play. It was just at their will. It was great.
I know, it was awesome. And I didn't feel like radio stations now, don't you feel like they play the same 10 songs? I really didn't feel that back in the day. I didn't feel like they played the same couple songs, you know? I feel like it was a good mix.
Yeah, it totally was.
I mean, we had a couple on the Cape. So we had like Cape 104, which was when we were really young. And I really liked that station a lot. And I remember such a good like
Cape
80s.
104? I don't remember that.
Yeah, so it used to be Cape 104. So they would do this thing where they're like, okay, listeners, like we're going to play 10 songs and like write them all down, and then you call in, and then if you can name the last 10 songs we play, you win like money or concert tickets or whatever. So that was like a really fun game that we did like a couple times. I don't know if we ever like successfully called in and did it, but like, or dedication, you call in, you'd be like, can you play this song? Remember that? Dedications were like huge.
Yeah, that was the Rose.
So then,
96.3 The Rose.
Yeah, so then when we were like 90s, like mid-90s, I'll say, the main one on Cape Cod was 96.3 The Rose, and it was awesome. There was like these same two DJs, you know, so they were like the local celebrities, and then they'd have the was Dusty and Daphne on that, on 96.3?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Dusty and Daphne.
It was like oldie hour.
Oh my God.
On
it
Sundays?
was my favorite.
It was Sundays, right?
It was on like Sundays from I don't know, 6 to 8 or something, or like 6 to 9 or something. One time I made a party in my bedroom for the Dusty and Daphne radio hour, and I made like decorations and like hung them up, and like my stuffed animals came to the party because we were just like so excited. But I would call into Dusty and Daphne like every weekend, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I told this story already, but I called in and like requested a song and then recorded it, and then I made my gym teacher like play it during gym class. It was like, look, I got on the radio. It was my greatest achievement.
I can hear their voice. Like I can still hear their voice like
Classic
in my head.
Radio DJs, yeah.
It was awesome.
Stuff. And then when you see their picture, you're like, oh, weird.
Yeah, weird. Well, that's the thing with all DJs.
It's not what I thought.
I will tell you this, sweetie. So Steve McVie, I think, was the 96 Through the Rose DJ. And when I was looking at potentially getting like a DJ for the wedding, he has like a DJ service now that like does weddings. Him and his wife.
Oh my God.
And I could have had the 96 Through the Rose DJ.
Wait, a girl I went to school with is married not to him but to Dan. Wasn't the other one's name Dan?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, a girl I went to school with is like married to him, and I was like, God, you're married to Dan?
Do Do you remember also like driving by where it was in
Yes.
Hyannis and
Yes.
being like, oh god,
Oh.
it was like TRL. It'd be like, oh my god.
Why did we think it was like, I don't know if we thought it was like a global, okay, actually no, Sweetie Confusion. I thought radio station was like
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
one station
How
everybody
would
in
you
America
not?
heard
How
it.
would you not know that?
So when, and like the DJ, I just thought the span was like global,
Yeah.
I had no idea. It was just like tiny little, this is like just on Cape Cod.
So now on Cape Cod, we don't, I think there's a couple still, but like kind of the main pop one is one of those Frank FM ones, which is just like the automatic like computer DJ, which is really sad.
So sad.
I know. Man, I would love to be a DJ. It seems like so much fun.
Yeah, right. And people are like, okay, so it turns out like people don't like people talking in between songs and they just want to listen to the songs. So I get it. But there are certain, there'd be certain, it's a certain kind of DJ that would be cool, I think. Like an
if
old, like, 70s disc jockey.
Yeah.
Like, that would be cool.
Or had, like, cool stuff to say about the songs that were played.
Yeah.
But it's like, what are you going to say about current stuff, I don't know. It's just, like, not interesting enough to talk about. Anyway.
Right.
Good radio segue. Miss it. Riding in pickup. So remember they have like Joey's sort of like monster truck and they have like people in the back riding.
I don't think I've ever ridden in a pickup.
Oh, really? I think I have.
Sorry, one time when we went on the outer beach with the Japanese exchange students. That was the only time, and we sat in the back like going like 5 miles per hour in the truck.
Yeah, have I ever done it on like a highway? I don't know. That's like deep 80s. I don't think we were old enough to be doing that. For sure. And then lastly, TWA. Ooh, R.I.P. No longer. TWA, the most comfortable way to fly. And then they had a really bad explosion. And then I think they went under after that. But I will say also, and I think I'd said this to you before, it seems like almost all the 80s movies take place in California. Like, if you were like a kid in the 80s where you'd be like, this, like, everyone lives in California. Like, they didn't do any movies for, like, anyone else in the country. Kind of crazy.
Because they filmed it in California and they weren't creative enough to, like, make it look like somewhere else. So they're like, it'll just be in California. We'll save money.
Well, it's like other than John Hughes movies, like, I feel like, which were always in the Midwest.
Chicago, Illinois,
Chicago,
or
California. Yeah,
it's true.
It's true.
California.
Anyway, that's all I have.
That's it. That's all you have. Yeah. So not a great movie, guys.
Not a great movie.
I guess it's on our list of Sweetie and Sweetie's least most hated movies. I know there's another. What was the other one? There was like another one that we hated like a lot. Now I can't remember what it is.
Listen, and if I don't want to hear on fucking Twitter or Instagram some dude being like, "Hey, it's just a movie. Lighten up," like blah blah blah. Like you lighten up. Sick of that shit.
Lighten up your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally sick of that. But you come find us. Tell us your thoughts. Maybe you had a connection to this. Maybe you didn't. Let us know. We're on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge. Send us. Thanks as always for listening. Bye. There's so many rape artists in this movie.
Rape artists. Bye.